Audio Jungle.
PM Wholeness welcomes big deal investment by KFC in St. Elizabeth. It's more than a big deal, it's a big investment, and the government supports investments. That's the explanation given by Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness while speaking at the opening of the newest KFC location in Black River, St. Elizabeth. Dr. Holness pointed out that more investment means more taxes, hence an increase in revenue for the government. Restored Health Center brings comfort to Jacksontown. Residents of Jacksontown and surrounding communities in Trelawney are no more comfortable from a health perspective as the community's health center, which was out of service for 2 years, is now back in service after a $23 million refurbishing exercise. The health center, which will serve communities such as Sawyers, Mahogany Hall, First Hall, Stewarttown, and Jacksontown, was recommissioned into service on Thursday by Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton. Gary Hall, a retired Jackson-based civil servant, said living without the health center was a major challenge and seeing it being reopened gives him greater appreciation for it. They say, "Cow never know the use of him tail until him lose it," stated Hall in reference to the period without the health center was non-functional. "When the clinic was closed, we missed it very much, so now that it is reopened, we gladly welcome it." In declaring the health center reopened, Tufton thanked the residents for their patience, while explaining that there are beneficiaries in the first health clinic to be refurbished in Trelawney under the government's operational outreach program. "I want to express my gratitude to you, the residents, for your patience in waiting on this project, which is a $23 million refurbishing exercise funded by the National Health Fund," stated Tufton. "You, the people of Jacksontown, must be proud of a government who promised and now have delivered." After examining the work that was done, Hall gave the project a thumbs up, saying he was quite pleased with what he saw. "The refurbishing is wonderful. It was well done. A water harvesting station was being established, which is most welcome, and generally, a wonderful job has been done," stated Hall. According to Tufton, some 130 health centers across the island are slated to benefit from $4 billion investment by the government as part of the effort to bring comfortable, high-quality health care closer to residents. "You now have an air-conditioned waiting area and a doctor to visit every Monday," Tufton told the residents of Jacksontown. "Make use of the clinic as your first call for primary health care." Loretta Barnett of Mahogany Hall told reporters that life was quite difficult for her without the clinic, which she says is critical to addressing her medical situation. "I am lost for words. I am super excited for my experience on Monday when I used the facility. The staff was so friendly and caring. I watched a movie on big screen TV while I waited on my turn to see the doctor," she stated. Kershawn Bill Cunningham, the parish manager for Trelawney Health Department, said the refurbishing was a completed job which entailed addressing issues unconnected to the main building. The refurbishing covered the area to the back of the building, which caused the public health to close the clinic in the first place, she stated. "Now we have the area converted into an office space and we have a new parking area." Danger of the minority vote. Voter participation in Jamaica is weak, and according to the research fellow at St. Arthur Lewis Institute of Social and Economic Studies, Dr. Stephen Johnson, is heading towards almost being a non-existence, a statement he insists is not an exaggeration. The warning issue in voting is not exclusive to Jamaica but the country's new days for making history in 1944 as the first country in the British Empire, barring Britain, to allow voting for all eligible adults regardless of race, outpacing larger British colonies like Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, to being the country with the lowest voter turnout in the English-speaking Caribbean has researchers concerned. They say, as the numbers drop, Vision 2030 Jamaica may also be at risk. Vision 2030 is an economic goal, explained Dr. Lloyd Waller, Professor of Digital Transformation Policy and Governance at the University of the West Indies, Mona, and the Director of SELES. "There's a lot of empirical evidence that suggests that once democracy is fractured or weakened, then it plays an important role in undermining economic development." Senior lecturer at the UWI, Dr. Ricketts John Johnson, and Waller during a July 15 Senate seminar, sharing data on understanding the uncommitted voters in Jamaica. Too much blood was shed by too many in the fight for universal adult suffrage, and so we have a duty as citizens to engage in a democratic process, she urged. Based on the voters' turnout in general elections, the majority of Jamaicans may not share their sentiment. Johnson explained during her presentation that voters' turnout has been mostly trending downward since 1989, high at 78%. In the 2016 general election, the country dropped below 50% and further declined to 37% in the 2020 general election. A strong democracy is predicted on the foundation principles of majority rule. Johnson indicated that once voters' turnout dipped below 50%, the minority was deciding the government. Speaking to reporters, Waller explained that a weakened democracy could mean for the country's long-to-the collection vision to become the place of choice to live, work, raise family, and do business by 2030. It undermines accountability. Public funds can be misallocated. There could also be wrong prioritization of policies. There are so many different ways that this can undermine economic development. It wastes public resources, reduces public policy stability, blocks inclusive growth, deters investment and innovation for overseas, impacting Vision 2030 because Vision 2030 is an economic imperative, he noted. As the country's first long-term development plan, spanning 21 years, Vision 2030 encompasses not just economic goals, but also social, environmental, and governance-related targets. Waller, who along with Johnson, co-authored the study on political ideology in Jamaica that informed the presentation at the Sally seminar, explained two major reasons that interest in voting is waning. So their apathy, where people are disconnected from the political system because of various reasons, ranging from corruption to lack of trust in the political system and our politicians. And then you have political efficacy, which you feel like your voice or your vote doesn't really matter. And people say, because it doesn't matter, why bother? He explained. During the ceremony, Johnson indicated several reasons voters are not exercising their franchise, including the two major political parties, the People's National Party and the Jamaica Labour Party, had failed to capture the interest on the undecided voters. According to Waller, reigniting the interest calls for a multi-pronged approach beginning before Jamaicans even reach the voting age. One primary solution is going to be civics. Investing in civic education, revamping the school curricula to teach us not just how government works, but why civic action matters, he noted. Waller also believes that the government should get mandatory voting a try, but maintain that without civic education to support it, residents would be voting for voting's sake. The researcher added, using social media, podcasts, animation, and storytelling to teach students about their rights and responsibilities in the democratic process, and in some communities, education programs for adults, including voters' education workshop, we can leverage technology to do all of that. In addition, the lecturer is proposing restructuring the electoral process to make it easier for ballots to be cast. Waller suggested not only making voters' registration automatic, but extending voting days and making weekend voting, e-voting, and absentee voting available. This, he said, should work in tandem with the creation of more welcoming political spaces. You can recruit and support candidates who look at the communities that they come from, rebuild trust in institutions. If people believe that all politicians are corrupt, they are not participating. So you need to prosecute corruption, he stated. To subscribe, like, share, and click the notification bell for daily updates.